What if I told you there's a simple kitchen ingredient that people have used for generations to slow hair loss and support new hair growth, and it's probably sitting in your home right now? I'm talking about onion juice. This may sound strange at first, but when you understand what's inside an onion and how it affects the scalp, it starts to make a lot of sense. Let's talk about why hair loss happens in the first place. In many cases, it comes down to poor circulation to the scalp, inflammation around the hair follicle, oxidative stress, and nutritional deficiencies at the root of the hair. When a hair follicle becomes inflamed or undernourished, it shrinks. Smaller follicles produce thinner hair, and eventually the hair stops growing altogether. So if you want thicker, stronger hair, you have to improve the health of the scalp and the follicle itself. Onions are loaded with sulfur compounds. Sulfur is one of the most important minerals for hair because hair is made primarily of keratin, and keratin requires sulfur to form strong bonds. Without enough sulfur, hair becomes weak, brittle, and more likely to fall out. Onion juice delivers sulfur directly to the scalp, right where the hair follicle needs it most. Another powerful benefit of onion juice is its effect on circulation. When you apply onion juice to the scalp, it slightly stimulates the skin. This increases blood flow to the area. More blood flow means more oxygen and more nutrients reaching the hair follicle. Hair follicles are living tissue, and they depend on a steady supply of nutrients to stay active. Improving circulation alone can make a noticeable difference in hair thickness over time. Onion juice is also rich in antioxidants, especially quercetin. This compound helps reduce oxidative stress around the hair follicle. Oxidative stress damages cells and accelerates aging, including the aging of hair follicles. When follicles age too quickly, they stop producing hair. By lowering oxidative stress, onion juice helps create a healthier environment for hair to grow. Inflammation is another major factor behind hair loss. Many people don't realize that chronic low-grade inflammation in the scalp can slowly shut down hair follicles. Onion juice has natural anti-inflammatory properties that can help calm the scalp. This is especially helpful if you deal with dandruff, itching, or sensitivity, all of which can interfere with normal hair growth. There's also a natural antibacterial effect from onion juice. The scalp has its own microbiome, and when harmful bacteria or fungi overgrow, they can contribute to hair shedding. Onion juice helps keep the scalp clean and balanced, reducing the risk of infections that weaken hair follicles. Now, let's talk about how to use onion juice correctly, because this part matters. First, you want to use fresh onion juice, not something bottled or processed. Take one medium onion, chop it up, and blend it. Then strain the liquid using a fine cloth or strainer. What you're left with is pure onion juice. Apply the juice directly to the scalp, not just the hair. Focus on areas where hair is thinning or shedding more than usual. Gently massage it into the scalp for a few minutes. That massage alone helps improve circulation. Leave the juice on for about 20 to 30 minutes, then rinse it out thoroughly with a mild shampoo. You don't need to do this every day. 2 to 3 times per week is more than enough. Hair growth is a slow process, and consistency matters more than intensity. Most people who see results notice reduced hair fall first, followed by stronger, thicker hair over several weeks. Now, here's something important. Onion juice works best when it's part of a bigger picture. If your diet is low in protein, zinc, iron, or certain B vitamins, topical treatments alone won't fully solve the problem. Hair growth starts from the inside. Make sure you're eating enough high-quality protein and nutrient-dense foods. The healthier your body is overall, the better your hair will respond. Also, if you're dealing with stress, that can override everything else. Chronic stress raises cortisol, and cortisol pushes hair into a resting phase. No topical remedy can completely fix that. Managing stress, getting good sleep, and supporting your nervous system are all critical if you want long-term results. Some people ask if onion juice can help with genetic hair loss. While genetics play a role, inflammation, circulation, and nutrient delivery still matter. Even genetically sensitive hair follicles can benefit from a healthier scalp environment. Onion juice won't change your genes, but it can help slow down the process and improve hair quality. If you have sensitive skin, always do a small patch test first. Natural doesn't always mean irritation-free. Most people tolerate onion juice well, but it's always smart to be cautious. So the key takeaway here is simple. Onion juice supports hair growth by delivering sulfur, improving circulation, reducing inflammation, lowering oxidative stress, and keeping the scalp clean. When you address these root causes, you give your hair the best possible chance to grow stronger and thicker. If you found this helpful, try it consistently for a few weeks and pay attention to how your scalp and hair respond. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the simplest ones, and they've been right in front of us all along. Hair doesn't fall out for no reason. When you really trace the problem back to its root, you almost always find weakness at the follicle level. The follicle is not just a hole in the scalp, it's a living, active structure that depends on the right raw materials to build strong hair. One of the most critical and most overlooked of those materials is sulfur. This is where onion juice becomes so interesting, because onion juice supplies sulfur in a form that the hair follicle can actually use. Hair is primarily made of a protein called keratin. Keratin is what gives hair its strength, flexibility, and resilience. But keratin cannot form properly without sulfur. Sulfur creates the disulfide bonds that hold keratin strands together. These bonds are what make hair thick instead of thin, strong instead of fragile. When sulfur is deficient, those bonds weaken. The hair shaft becomes softer, flatter, and easier to break. Over time, the follicle produces thinner and thinner hair until it eventually stops producing hair altogether. Now here's the key point. Even if you're eating protein, that doesn't automatically mean your hair is getting enough sulfur. Many people have digestive issues, low stomach acid, or poor absorption. Others are on low-protein diets, restrictive diets, or highly processed diets that don't supply enough sulfur containing amino acids like cysteine and methionine. The hair follicle is not a priority tissue for the body. If nutrients are limited, the body will divert them to vital organs first. Hair always comes last. That's why hair loss is often one of the first visible signs of nutritional imbalance. Onion juice provides sulfur directly to the scalp, bypassing digestion entirely. When you apply it topically, you're feeding the follicle right at the source. This localized delivery is powerful because the follicle doesn't have to compete with other tissues for nutrients. It gets sulfur immediately, right where keratin is being produced. Over time, this helps the follicle rebuild stronger hair fibers instead of weak, miniaturized strands. Sulfur also plays a critical role in collagen production. Collagen forms the structural support around the hair follicle. If that support weakens, the follicle loses its stability. Hair becomes loosely anchored and sheds more easily, even during gentle washing or brushing. By improving sulfur availability, onion juice helps support collagen integrity around the follicle, allowing the hair to stay firmly rooted in the scalp. Another important effect of sulfur is its role in detoxification at the cellular level. Hair follicles are highly sensitive to toxins, oxidative stress, and metabolic waste. Sulfur is required to produce glutathione, one of the body's most powerful antioxidants. When sulfur levels are low, glutathione drops. This allows oxidative stress to damage follicle cells more easily. Damaged follicle cells can't divide properly, and hair growth slows down. By supplying sulfur, onion juice indirectly supports antioxidant defenses inside the follicle, protecting it from premature aging. Sulfur also influences the scalp's oil balance. The sebaceous glands attached to hair follicles produce sebum, which keeps hair flexible and protected. When sulfur is deficient, sebum quality declines. It can become too thick, too thin, or imbalanced. Poor quality sebum can clog follicles or leave hair dry and brittle. Onion juice helps normalize sulfur-dependent processes in the skin, supporting healthier sebum production and a better scalp environment for hair growth. One of the reasons onion juice has gained attention is because people often notice reduced hair shedding before they see new growth. That's a sign the follicle is becoming stronger. When sulfur availability improves, the hair shaft thickens slightly, and the anchoring strength of the follicle increases. Hair doesn't fall out as easily because it's better constructed at the molecular level. This alone can make hair appear fuller even before new hairs emerge. Sulfur also plays a role in cell signaling within the follicle. Hair growth happens in cycles. There's a growth phase, a transition phase, and a resting phase. When follicles lack nutrients, they enter the resting phase too early. Sulfur helps support enzymes and proteins involved in keeping follicles active. By improving sulfur supply, onion juice may help follicles stay in the growth phase longer, allowing hair to grow thicker and longer before shedding. Another overlooked benefit is sulfur's role in reducing scalp stiffness and fibrosis. Over time, chronic inflammation and nutrient deficiencies can cause the scalp tissue to become tight and less flexible. This restricts blood flow and compresses follicles. Sulfur supports tissue elasticity and repair, helping maintain a healthier scalp structure. A flexible scalp allows follicles to expand properly during the growth phase instead of being constricted. It's also important to understand that sulfur deficiency doesn't always show up as obvious symptoms. You might not feel anything wrong with your scalp, yet hair continues to thin slowly over years. This slow progression is exactly how nutrient-related hair loss works. Onion juice addresses this quietly, gradually restoring what the follicle has been missing. Now, consistency is critical. Hair grows slowly, and follicles need repeated exposure to nutrients to rebuild. Using onion juice once or twice won't create dramatic changes, but applying it consistently over weeks allows sulfur to accumulate where it's needed. Over time, the follicle environment shifts from one of deficiency to one of support. That's when real changes start to happen. Another important factor is age. As we get older, sulfur metabolism becomes less efficient. This is one reason hair texture changes with age. Hair becomes finer, weaker, and grows more slowly. Topical sulfur from onion juice can help counteract some of this age-related decline by providing a direct supply to aging follicles. Stress also increases sulfur demand. Stress hormones increase oxidative stress, which raises the need for glutathione. Glutathione requires sulfur when stress is chronic. Sulfur is diverted away from hair towards stress management pathways. This leaves hair follicles undernourished. Onion juice helps refill that gap at the scalp level, even when internal demand is high. Some people worry about the smell, but that sulfur smell is actually part of what makes onion juice effective. Those volatile sulfur compounds are biologically active. They interact with skin cells and follicle cells, triggering beneficial responses. Rinsing thoroughly after application removes most of the odor, but the sulfur benefits remain in the tissue. It's also worth mentioning that sulfur supports keratin not just in hair, but in nails and skin. Many people who use onion juice notice their scalp skin becomes healthier over time. Less dryness, less flaking, and better overall texture. A healthier scalp skin layer provides better support for hair follicles underneath. If you combine onion juice with good nutrition internally, the results can be amplified. Protein, zinc, iron, and B vitamins work together with sulfur to build hair. Onion juice doesn't replace these nutrients, but it strengthens one of the most critical weak links in hair structure. Think of it as reinforcing the foundation so everything else can work better. The key idea here is that hair loss is often not about a lack of stimulation, but a lack of building materials. Sulfur is one of those building materials that is absolutely essential, yet commonly deficient at the follicle level. Ion juice supplies sulfur directly, strengthens keratin bonds, supports collagen, improves antioxidant defenses, and helps restore follicle function over time. When you understand hair growth from this perspective, onion juice stops sounding like a random home remedy and starts making biological sense. You're not forcing hair to grow. You're giving the follicle what it needs to do its job naturally. And when the follicle is supported instead of stressed, hair growth becomes a byproduct of improved health rather than something you have to fight for. Hair growth is not just about nutrients. Even if you have all the right vitamins and minerals in your body, hair still won't grow properly if blood flow to the scalp is poor. This is why circulation is such a critical and often ignored factor in hair loss. When we talk about onion juice boosting scalp blood circulation, we're talking about restoring the delivery system that keeps hair follicles alive and active. Hair follicles are among the most metabolically active structures in the body. They divide rapidly during the growth phase and require a constant supply of oxygen, glucose, amino acids, minerals, and growth signals. All of this arrives through the bloodstream. If circulation is compromised, the follicle doesn't receive enough of these essentials and it starts to shut down as a protective mechanism. Hair thinning is often the result of follicles quietly going into survival mode. One reason circulation to the scalp declines is simply gravity and anatomy. The scalp sits at the top of the body, far from the heart, and blood has to work against gravity to reach it. Areas like the crown and temples are especially vulnerable because they naturally receive less blood flow. Over time, this reduced circulation can cause follicles in these regions to miniaturize, producing finer and shorter hairs until growth stops completely. Onion juice helps address this by gently stimulating the scalp. When applied topically, onion juice causes a mild, temporary irritation that signals blood vessels to dilate. This is not harmful inflammation, but a controlled response that increases local blood flow. As blood vessels widen, more oxygen and nutrients rush into the area, feeding the follicles and waking up sluggish tissue. Oxygen is particularly important for hair growth. Follicles rely on oxygen to generate energy through cellular respiration. When oxygen levels drop, energy production declines and the follicle can no longer sustain active growth. This pushes hair prematurely into the resting phase. By improving circulation, onion juice increases oxygen delivery, allowing follicles to produce energy efficiently and stay in the growth phase longer. Better circulation also improves nutrient delivery. Amino acids from protein, minerals like zinc and iron, and vitamins involved in cell division all depend on blood flow to reach the follicle. Even mild deficiencies become more pronounced when circulation is poor. Ion juice doesn't just stimulate blood flow on its own, it enhances the effectiveness of the nutrients already present in your body by ensuring they reach their destination. Another overlooked benefit of increased circulation is waste removal. Hair follicles produce metabolic waste just like any other tissue. If circulation is sluggish, waste products build up around the follicle, creating a toxic microenvironment. This can interfere with cell signaling and damage follicle cells over time. Improved blood flow helps flush out these wastes, keeping the follicle environment clean and supportive of growth. Scalp tension plays a major role in circulation as well. Chronic stress, poor posture, jaw clenching, and emotional tension can cause the muscles and connective tissue of the scalp to tighten. This tightness compresses blood vessels, further reducing blood flow to the follicles. Onion juice, especially when combined with gentle massage, helps relax the scalp tissue. As the tissue softens, blood vessels are less compressed, and circulation improves naturally. Many people notice that their scalp feels warmer after applying onion juice. This warmth is a sign of increased blood flow. Heat itself is not the goal, but it's an indicator that circulation has improved. Warmer tissue generally means more blood, more oxygen, and more nutrients reaching the follicles. There's also a connection between circulation and growth signals. Hair follicles rely on chemical messengers that tell them when to grow and when to rest. These signals are transported through the bloodstream. When circulation is weak, these messages may not reach the follicle efficiently. By improving blood flow, onion juice helps restore proper communication between the body and the hair follicle. Another important aspect is insulin and blood sugar regulation at the scalp level. Poor circulation can worsen insulin resistance locally, reducing glucose uptake by follicle cells. Hair follicles need glucose for energy. Onion juice contains compounds that may improve microcirculation and cellular responsiveness, helping follicles access the energy they need to grow. As we age, circulation naturally declines. Blood vessels become less flexible and capillary density decreases. This is one reason hair growth slows and hair becomes finer with age. Topical circulation support becomes more important over time. Onion juice provides a simple, natural way to counteract age-related declines in scalp blood flow without harsh chemicals or invasive treatments. Stress further compounds circulation issues. Stress hormones cause blood vessels to constrict, prioritizing blood flow to vital organs and muscles while reducing flow to the skin and scalp. Chronic stress keeps the scalp in a low circulation state for long periods. Onion juice helps locally override this effect by directly stimulating blood flow where it's needed most. One of the earliest benefits people notice from improved circulation is reduced hair shedding. This happens because follicles that were on the edge of shutting down receive renewed support and stabilize. The hair shaft becomes better nourished, stronger, and less likely to fall out prematurely. This stabilization phase is an important step before any noticeable regrowth occurs. Over time, improved circulation can help revive dormant follicles. Not all dormant follicles are dead, many are simply inactive due to lack of nourishment. When blood flow improves consistently, some of these follicles can re-enter the growth phase and begin producing hair again. This is a slow process, but it's one of the most exciting aspects of circulation-based hair support. Consistency is critical here. Circulation benefits are temporary if stimulation is inconsistent. Applying onion juice regularly trains the scalp to maintain better blood flow over time. Think of it like exercise for the scalp's blood vessels. Repeated stimulation helps keep them flexible and responsive instead of stiff and constricted. It's also important to mention that improved circulation enhances the effectiveness of other hair support strategies. Whether you're focusing on nutrition, supplements, stress management, or scalp care, all of these approaches work better when blood flow is optimized. Onion juice acts as a multiplier rather than a standalone miracle. Some people worry that stimulating circulation might increase hair shedding at first. In some cases, a short-term increase in shedding can occur as weak hairs are released and follicles reset into a healthier growth cycle. This is usually temporary and followed by stronger regrowth. It's a sign that the follicle environment is changing. Ultimately, hair growth depends on delivery of oxygen, nutrients, energy, and signals. Without circulation, even the best ingredients cannot do their job. Onion juice supports this delivery system by gently increasing blood flow, relaxing scalp tissue, improving oxygenation, and restoring nutrient transport to the follicle. When circulation improves, hair follicles are no longer operating in survival mode. They shift back into growth mode. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it happens naturally when the follicle finally receives what it's been missing. This is why circulation support is such a powerful and foundational part of addressing hair loss, and why onion juice, simple as it seems, can make such a meaningful difference when used consistently. Hair loss is rarely caused by just one factor. Very often, it's the result of a slow, ongoing breakdown in the scalp environment. One of the biggest contributors to that breakdown is chronic inflammation, oxidative stress, and an unhealthy balance of microbes on the scalp. This is where the third key idea becomes extremely important, because onion juice helps calm inflammation, neutralize oxidative damage, and restore balance to the scalp so hair follicles can function normally again. Let's start with inflammation. Inflammation is the body's natural defense response, but when it becomes chronic and low-grade, it starts doing more harm than good. Many people with hair loss don't feel obvious pain or redness, yet inflammation is quietly happening around the hair follicle. This inflammation interferes with the hair growth cycle. It sends signals that push hair out of the growth phase and into the resting phase too early. Over time, repeated inflammation causes follicles to shrink, weaken, and eventually stop producing hair. Onion juice contains natural anti-inflammatory compounds that help calm this process. When applied to the scalp, these compounds interact with skin cells and immune cells, reducing inflammatory signaling around the follicle. This creates a calmer environment where follicles are no longer under constant attack. When inflammation drops, follicles can redirect energy toward growth instead of defense. Inflammation also stiffens the tissue around the follicle. Chronic irritation leads to subtle scarring and tightness in the scalp, a process sometimes referred to as fibrosis. This tight tissue restricts blood flow and physically compresses the follicle, making it harder for hair to grow. Onion juice helps counter this by supporting tissue repair and flexibility. A healthier, more relaxed scalp allows follicles to expand properly during the growth phase instead of being trapped in a constricted environment. Now let's talk about oxidative stress, which is closely linked to inflammation. Oxidative stress occurs when free radicals overwhelm the body's antioxidant defenses. Free radicals damage proteins, fats, and DNA inside cells. Hair follicle cells divide rapidly, which makes them especially vulnerable to oxidative damage. When these cells are damaged, hair growth slows and the hair that does grow becomes thinner and weaker. Onion juice is rich in antioxidants, particularly quercetin. Quercetin helps neutralize free radicals before they can damage follicle cells. By lowering oxidative stress, onion juice protects the cellular machinery responsible for hair production. This helps preserve the follicle's ability to produce strong, healthy hair over time instead of burning out prematurely. Oxidative stress also accelerates the aging of hair follicles. This is one reason hair thinning often increases with age or during periods of high stress. When antioxidant defenses are low, follicles age faster than they should. Onion juice helps slow this process by reinforcing antioxidant protection right at the scalp where it's most needed. Another critical aspect of scalp health is microbial balance. The scalp is home to bacteria and fungi that normally coexist in harmony. Problems arise when this balance is disrupted. Overgrowth of certain microbes can irritate the scalp, trigger inflammation, clog follicles, and weaken hair roots. Conditions like dandruff, excessive oiliness, itchiness, and scalp sensitivity are often signs of microbial imbalance. Oni. On juice has natural antibacterial and antifungal properties. These properties help reduce harmful microbial overgrowth without completely stripping the scalp of its natural defenses. This is important because harsh chemical treatments can damage the scalp barrier and make problems worse in the long run. Onion juice works more gently, supporting balance rather than destruction. When microbial balance improves, inflammation often drops as well. Harmful microbes release toxins that irritate the scalp and trigger immune responses. By keeping these microbes in check, onion juice reduces one of the main drivers of chronic scalp inflammation. A calmer scalp creates a safer environment for hair follicles to grow uninterrupted. Sebum balance is another piece of this puzzle. Sebum is the natural oil produced by the scalp to protect hair and skin. When the scalp is inflamed or microbially imbalanced, sebum production becomes irregular. It may become too thick and clog follicles, or too thin and leave hair dry and fragile. Onion juice helps normalize the scalp environment, which supports healthier sebum production and better follicle function. Many people notice that their scalp feels cleaner, less itchy, and more comfortable after using onion juice consistently. These changes are not cosmetic. They reflect real improvements in scalp health that directly affect hair growth. A comfortable scalp is usually a healthier scalp, and a healthier scalp supports stronger hair. Another overload. Oxide factor is immune overactivity. In some forms of hair loss, the immune system mistakenly targets hair follicles. While onion juice is not a medical treatment for autoimmune conditions, its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects may help reduce unnecessary immune irritation around the follicle. This can lower the background stress that contributes to follicle shutdown. Stress plays a major role here as well. Psychological and physical stress increase both inflammation and oxidative stress throughout the body, including the scalp. Stress hormones alter immune responses and disrupt the scalp's barrier function. Onion juice helps locally counteract some of these effects by calming inflammation and supporting tissue repair, even when stress levels are high. Another important benefit is improved scalp barrier function. The outer layer of the scalp acts as a protective shield. When this barrier is damaged by inflammation, harsh products, or microbial imbalance, irritants penetrate more easily and trigger further inflammation. Onion juice supports barrier repair by improving skin cell health and reducing ongoing irritation. A stronger barrier means fewer inflammatory triggers reaching the follicle. Over time, chronic inflammation and oxidative stress shorten the hair growth cycle. Hair spends less time growing and more time resting or shedding. By reducing these stressors, onion juice helps normalize the cycle. Hair stays in the growth phase longer, grows stronger, and sheds less frequently. This process takes time. Follicles don't instantly recover from months or years of inflammation, but with consistent use, the cumulative effect becomes noticeable. Reduced itching, less flaking, less shedding, and improved hair texture are often the first signs that the scalp environment is healing. It's also important to understand that a healthy scalp environment makes every other hair growth strategy more effective. Nutrients, circulation, and hormonal balance all work better when inflammation and oxidative stress are under control. Onion juice doesn't work in isolation. It prepares the ground so hair can grow without constant interference. One reason onion juice has been used traditionally is because it addresses multiple scalp stressors at once. Instead of targeting just one symptom, it supports the underlying environment that hair follicles depend on. This holistic effect is why it can be helpful for different types of hair loss, from stress-related shedding to gradual thinning. When the scalp is inflamed, oxidatively stressed, and microbially imbalanced, hair growth becomes an uphill battle. The follicle is constantly defending itself instead of building hair. Onion juice helps shift that balance. It reduces the noise, calms the signals, and allows the follicle to return to its natural function. The big takeaway here is that hair follicles thrive in a calm, clean, and protected environment. Inflammation, oxidative stress, and microbial imbalance disrupt that environment and slowly shut hair growth down. Onion juice helps restore balance by calming inflammation, neutralizing free radicals, and supporting a healthy scalp ecosystem. When those stressors are removed, hair growth is no longer blocked. It becomes a natural outcome of a healthier scalp, rather than something you have to force.